I know. Some of you don't like jazz. I know. But listen. Oh, turn it up. It's like a brush cleansing the molecules of your brain, the brain cells. Listen, listen, listen. Oh, the bass solo. The drums. Hear how they interact? They're playing off each other. Listen, listen. And then the sax will come back in. Oh, oh. Listen, listen. Listen to those drums. Okay. Oh, oh, oh. That's so good. Here's the CD. Hang on. Can you see that? No, it's Stephen Riley. It's called Heartbeat. Stephen Riley's Heartbeat. It came out on Steeplechase, which is from Denmark. He lives in North Carolina. He's putting out his albums, Carol. Good jazz. They got to go to Europe to put out the records. Stephen Riley, Stephen with a PH. It's great stuff. Thanks to my friend Bob for turning me on to Stephen Riley. Anybody at the Independent watching? Someone needs to interview this man. I think he lives in Greensboro now. But anyway, he's doing great in Europe and all over. He's getting great critical attention. And anyway, I like him a lot. So, hi. Happy New Year. I got a couple links up. I'll have more later tonight. Wait. Oh, there we go. Much better. We got to talk about the fiscal cliff. We got to say goodbye to Bev Perdue. Say goodbye, everybody. Bye, Bev. Everyone's like, what's Bev Perdue's legacy? I'll tell you what Bev Perdue's legacy is. You ready, Carol? Art Pope as governor is Bev Perdue's legacy. Thanks a lot, Bev. Oh, I'm guessing maybe she's sick, Carol, or, I mean, why did she not even run? It is a mystery, as Carol says. Why did Bev Perdue not even bother to run? Was it money? She could keep some of her campaign war chest for herself? Was that part of it? That's got to be a consideration, Carol. You know, you're allowed to, you know, there's all kinds of rules about what you can and can't use campaign funds for. Used to be you could use them for anything. You retire with a big campaign fund, it was yours. They've made a little bit more rules, so, but you know, I'm sure money was a factor, right? Why didn't she even run? She left us with Walter Dalton. I'm sorry, Bev, that's just a taint on your memory. That's a black mark. Okay. She did pardon those folks who got wrongfully arrested and thrown in jail, the Greensboro 10 or whatever they're called. She did pardon them at the last minute. Thanks, Bev. Okay, Carol, I think I'm going to take off the monkey. I like the monkey. But I got to tell you something real fast. I was just over at Nice Price Books. I don't work there, I don't do anything with them, but I just want to let you all people know, because I know intelligent people watch this show, 2 of you anyway. And Nice Price Books has a big stack of Criterion Collection DVDs right now. I don't work there, they're technically the competition for the Reader's Corner where I do work. But anyway, I just want to share that, because you know, if you don't only get to Nice Price irregularly, you might want to schedule a visit. If you're a film buff, they have a really nice selection for sale of Criterion Collection movies. You know, really nice box sets, a lot of Japanese stuff. I got a great collection of Czech New Wave films. I had a bunch of credit built up there, which really helps, but you know. Anyway, all right, so just passing that along, because I'm a nice guy and I want you to, you know, enjoy your life more fully than you already are. So did you survive the holidays? I did. So let's talk about the, barely, let's talk about the fiscal cliff stuff. Can we, oh no, should we talk about the fiscal cliff or public domain day, Carol? What? Whatever. All right. A couple things about the fiscal cliff. It's so, I mean, I know we're supposed to be grateful. This is the best that Obama could get, and blah, blah, blah. But think about it. Think about it. The whole point of the fiscal cliff was to push off till this horrible mess over the debt ceiling and these spending cuts that the Republicans want. And all the spending cuts affect the poor. All the spending cuts that the Republicans want, Medicare, Social Security, they're disproportionately affecting the poor. And Democrats like Obama should be fighting and just explicitly saying this is not what we're not going to allow this. Obama's now saying well, let me back up. All of this fiscal cliff stuff is an artificial deadline that was imposed because they didn't want to deal with the hassle of actually working out a deal last year. So they kicked the can down the road, and then we're supposed to avoid all that horrible mess. Right? And they were going to come up with some kind of deal. Well, they forced themselves to create this. They basically said, we're going to have this horrible mess, which we just saw. And the bill, at the last minute, loaded down with all kinds of pork. We've been seeing reports of that today. Did you catch that, Carol? It's all sorts of tax breaks for people who own NASCAR racetracks in the fiscal cliff bill. Did you hear that? Oh, it's hilarious. This is what they do. Oh yeah, midnight. New Year's Eve. Yeah, why don't we throw in a few more? No one, no one's going to be able to read the damn thing before they have to vote on it. It's like, how some people, myself included, you create a crisis in your life so you feel at least some excitement, You know how you sabotage yourself like that? You know what I'm talking about. Okay. Well, Congress does it. They create these crises so they can just sneak and slip in all this crappy pork. So it's really, just do a search for fiscal cliff and then pork, and you'll start seeing news results where people are looking at it from the left, from the right, all over. This is what they do. They create these fake crises, and then, we have to do this. This is the best we can do. And when you examine it in the light of day, after the thing's already passed with no one reading it, because they rush, what you find is it's a boondoggle and a bunch of their friends and a bunch of favors get done and traded. You're welcome to call in. The number's 996-6775. You're welcome to call in. But let's just look at a couple of things that, to me, and you're welcome to say what you like or don't like about the fiscal cliff deal. But my point is they kicked the can down the road so that we wouldn't have to have this horrible crisis, last year. And so we get this horrible crisis, and they still didn't solve the problem of the debt ceiling, raising the debt ceiling so the government can keep on doing what it does, which for a right-wing Republican is spend like crazy. For a left-winger like me, it's like, no, austerity is stupid in a recession, and what we need to be doing is stimulus, more stimulus. That's what we need to be doing. That all of the economists, almost every economist says that's what you need to do, right? And instead, what we're seeing is that the people like Obama are buying into the Erskine Bowles idiocy that what we need to do is cut benefits to poor people. Spending's too high. We have to cut benefits, and those benefits that are getting cut are disproportionately going to affect poor people. Erskine Bowles should be ashamed. We've talked about this before. Did we get a call, Carol?
The phone's messed up.
The phone's messed up. Try again. If you're trying to call, we'll see what we can do to fix up the phone. For some reason, Ed, the phone's not coming through when people are trying to call in. Sorry, keep trying. We'll see what we can do to fix it. But anyway, the point is the debt ceiling thing is coming up at the end of February. They're going to have the same conversation again. And it's going to be, the Republicans are going to hold the government hostage again. So this whole process whereby they kicked the can down the road last year till last night, or 2 nights ago, right, didn't even solve the problem. This is how they operate. It's completely ridiculous that this is how our government operates. And Obama's now saying that when the debt ceiling negotiations happen at the end of February, I'm not going to do any cuts to Medicare. I'm not going to do any Social Security, blah, blah, blah. But he caves all the time. Let's look at what happened, okay? The first main thing I think it's fair to say is that the estate tax thing. Now, I'm never going to have an estate tax. I don't pay the income tax. I don't make enough to pay it. I'm one of those people who, though the main tax I pay is payroll taxes. It comes right out. And the payroll tax holiday thing is going to hurt me. But, we'll get to that in a second. We got a call? All right. So the estate tax is something that I find very, very interesting, what they just did. Hi, you're on the air.
Yes, hello. I called the number on TV. It's just the number where he's, excuse me, hello?
Yes. Turn down your television.
Oh, I did. I just put it down.
Okay.
It says that how the fiscal cliff deal protects the rich and excludes the poor, which is true. I think that's true. So.
Okay. Well.
And yeah, and they don't. Nobody does anything, and they're doing it to the poor, but the rich have money, want more and more money, and.
Well, the whole point was, the big thing we were trying to get was those Bush-era tax cuts that basically gave the rich all this basically cut taxes on the rich in 2004, I think it was, and they were supposed to expire, right? And the Republicans, and what we wanted as Democrats was, no, let those expire. Let those expire on the rich. And what happened was the tax cuts on the rich expired for the income that they make over $400,000, $450 if you're a couple. It should have been $250,000, right? So basically what happened, that's what we were hoping for. And Obama didn't get that.
Was I.
Obama didn't get that because that money was going to help solve a lot of financial problems.
They said that it was like 50,000 now, something like that, because they keep on changing the.
No. It's basically the rich will start paying more taxes again on the income they make over 400,000.
Wow.
They're not going to. They don't pay more taxes on the income below 400,000. It's just over 400,000, and that's just ridiculous. So we're losing all this money.
250,000 a year. And they're still complaining. They don't want to help the people that need it.
That's what's
the elderly and things like that. And,
yes, the poor and the elderly and children. Those are the people who are going to suffer. Those are the people who are going to suffer. That money cannot be made up now. Those tax cuts are permanent. So anywhere else that money needs to be made up, it's going to come out of other people. And those other people, instead of the people making over $250,000 a year, the money that needs to be made up in the government budget is going to come out of you and me. And when the Republicans talk about just cut spending, what they also mean is cut money that helps poor people live. When they say all the government has to do is cut spending, they're saying cut Medicare, cut Social Security, basically cut everything that helps poor people live. That's what this is going to that's what's going to have to happen.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Watch what happens in February. Watch what happens in February when we have the debt ceiling negotiations. The Republicans are going to demand.
Because of the elderly and the children, you know, and things like that, and it's really crazy. I mean.
All right. Let's go ahead. Did you have something you want to say? Because I got to move on.
Yes. No, that was it.
Okay. All right. So you're sympathetic.
I'm with you. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for calling.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. So the estate tax. Wait. What was I saying? Oh, the Bush-era tax cuts. That was the thing where they basically they're now law and they're now permanent for just about everybody except a tiny sliver of people. Here's another thing: the estate tax. Do I have something up about the estate tax there? This was something that, again, when Bush came into office, the estate tax, which is basically the tax that says, okay, you earned a lot, there's going to be a significant tax on what you pass on to your children. Because we don't have a hereditary monarchy in this country, Carol. Sorry, but that's what we do, right? So here's what happens. In the Clinton era, the first $1 million of your estate was exempt from estate taxes. And then everything else after that, it was taxed at 55%. Sounds like a lot, Carol, but that was the law all the way up to Bill Clinton, right? Then Bush comes in, and that's no longer the law. Now what we had was anything over $5 million was totally exempt. Oh, I'm sorry, under $5 million, thank you, Carol says. Everything under $5 million is totally exempt. The first $5 million is totally exempt from estate taxes. $5 million, right? And here's the difference. In a second, I'll tell you what this means. The first $5 million is exempt. And then the rate went down to, I think, 35%, Carol. And so now what we've got, and what we were pushing for, what the progressives were pushing for, and what Democrats, we won that election, right? What Democrats should have been pushing for was raise that back up. I think they were asking for 3.5, allowing the first 3.5 million to be exempt. So not even going back to what it was during the Clinton years. And remember, the Clinton years were prosperous years for America. Right, Carol? Those were boom years for America, right? Okay, let's just establish that. And then the rate goes up to 40% now. Now, here's the difference. Here's the difference. At 5 million, the first 5 million's free of estate taxes, you're only catching about 3,700 total households, Carol. That's nothing. So if you exempt the first 5 million of estate tax of an estate from taxes, from the estate tax, that only leaves the people over, that only leaves 3,700 households in America. If you raise it back down or lower the exemption back down to 1 million, which is what it was under Clinton, then you catch 47,170 households, I believe is what it is, over 47,000. So 3,700 households, the 5 million is a huge giveaway versus 47,000 households that would then be paying something on their estate to the US government. And Obama didn't lower that. So again, that's a huge change in the amount of taxes that the government's collecting from before Bush 2, right? A huge change that we are going to have to make up somewhere else. This was Obama's chance to get some of that back. He didn't. He failed to get that back on the estate tax. He failed to get it back, most of it back, on the Bush-era tax cuts for people making over $250,000 a year. He failed on both of those counts to get back huge amounts of money that the federal government would get under those, if he had pushed and won what he, won the election for if he'd really pushed.
What's the percentage? Over 5 million. What is it now?
What is the tax now? I think it's 40% now. I think they raised it to 40 from 35. But still, the first 5 million is exempt, which means that the only people paying that are 3,700 families.
And all of them United States of America.
Yes. That's, by exempting the first 5 million of estates, you get rid of the estate tax for just about everybody, except a very small sliver of people who have estates worth over 5 million and don't pay accountants enough to to get around the law. So basically, those are two huge chunks that in these fiscal cliff negotiations, this great negotiator Obama, whatever, that he failed to get. So what does that mean? That means that money is going to have to be made up somewhere. And the Republicans want it to be made up on your Social Security, your Medicare. They want to cut. Now, what's Obama going to do? Where's he going to get that money? That was a huge missed opportunity in these negotiations. Then, while Obama is letting the estate tax go, not even on the table was extending the payroll tax holiday. We've been hearing a lot about this. Back in 2008, Carol, when the economy tanked because of rich people like Lloyd Blankenfeld from Goldman Sachs or whatever his name is, right? We know why the economy tanked. The economy tanked because those guys at the top investment banks made crappy bets on bad mortgages. Now, the people who got the bad mortgages, they shouldn't have got those. But those bad mortgages, you add up all the bad mortgages that the poor people shouldn't have gotten. If they were smart, they wouldn't have accepted those deals. That doesn't even come close to why the economy tanked. The major problem why the economy tanked was those bad mortgages were spun and turned around with a lot of hocus pocus and voodoo into these huge collateralized debt obligations. It was so confounding and confusing that the banks themselves didn't even know how much they were on the hook for as those bad mortgages at the bottom spiraled out of control, and then their collateralized debt obligations that they created spun the whole system into the ground. That is why we suffered in 2008. That's what caused the economic collapse in 2008. Not the mortgages at the bottom, but what the investment banks did with those bad loans to create huge, billions of times more debt. And those people caused the 2008 collapse. One of the responses from Obama, which was a smart one, was a holiday on payroll taxes. So instead of paying 6% of your income, your payroll and taxes to Social Security, you pay 4%. So 2% difference. And in 2009, 2010, 2011, they renewed it. Why wasn't renewing that on the table now? You just made the Bush-era tax cuts permanent for many, many rich people. You couldn't extend the payroll tax holiday for another year or two until we were really out of the recession? That wasn't even on the table. That's insulting. Poor people were screwed over again. I'm going to lose another $600 out of my check this year. You know, Carol, I'm not making a whole lot of money. I've always been comfortable with, give me some books, give me a library card, give me some movies, and a matinee. I'm happy. And a trip once a year. I'm generally, keep my needs low. Not eating meat helps a lot, actually. Keeps your costs down, Carol. Not eating red meat definitely keeps your costs down. Okay, I'm willing to accept that, but it just doesn't make sense. I'm willing to accept higher payroll taxes because they were what I was paying. That's the percentage I was paying in 2008, before 2008. But we're still in a recession. And what you're doing by getting rid of the payroll tax holiday and bumping that 2% of your payroll taxes back up to where it was before the recession caused by the rich people, the rich investment bankers, is you're hurting the recession. You're hurting people at the bottom worse. So you're making Bush-era tax cuts for the rich permanent. And you couldn't even be bothered to have as one of your bargaining chips, we're going to get another year out of this payroll tax holiday. And I know the argument, well, the payroll tax, if you pay less, then Social Security becomes less solvent, which brings me to the next point, this. Anybody making over, I think the limit is $113K, doesn't pay Social Security taxes, payroll taxes, on that anything over $113K. Why $113K? Well, this is a good question. If we've got on the table the impossibility of even considering the estate tax, no longer exempting the first solid $5 million of your estate, but just $1 million or $3.5 million. Obama couldn't even get that. And yet we can't even consider raising the cap on the amount of income on which you pay the Social Security tax. Make it 150 so that the people who make between 113 and 150,000 still pay Social Security tax on that. And yeah, sorry, that's mostly going to benefit poor people. So this wasn't even on the table. It's not even, you can make Social Security solvent for the 70 years, according to, I think it was either the General Accounting Office or the Congressional Budget Office, one of the two. You can make Social Security solvent for the next 70, 80 years by doubling the cap, the income cap on which people pay payroll taxes for Social Security. Even raising it, I think, to 150 would be enough to make Social Security solvent for the next 50 years. But instead of doing that very simple, very reasonable step, well, let's just raise the cap a little bit. They're saying, and that because that would affect not poor people, that would affect rich people. So millionaires wouldn't just pay payroll taxes on the first 113,000 of income, they would pay on the first 150,000 of income. But instead of doing that, they're talking about raising the age at which you can get Social Security payments. That's on the table. But raising the cap at which rich people stop paying into the Social Security system is not on the table. Who does that hurt? Who does that help? Well, one thing that helps is to realize that Congress is made of mostly rich people. And all of the friends of Congress and the media people in Congress, they're all made of rich people, or the media people who hang out with the Congress people and who are married to them sometimes, dating them, right? And their aides and all that. They're all making over $200,000 a year. That's not even on the table, raising the cap on the payroll tax. That's how it's done in America. So all the things, and watch in February, and within 2 months, the next month and a half, there's going to be a strong push to cut Medicare and to cut Social Security, either raising the age, lowering the benefits, doing all kinds of stuff. Strong push, but those two things that would affect the rich people are not even on the table. They won't even be in the discussion. Oh, yeah. Yesterday was International Public Domain Day, or National Public Domain Day. We only have 2 minutes. I'll send some links around if you go to my Twitter page. But everything, according to current or actually, according to the public domain law as it stood in 1978, before Disney got its hands on it, things before 1956 would have entered the public domain. That means Elvis's early songs, Love Me Tender, could be used in documentaries now. They would enter the public domain, right? Godzilla, the first Godzilla movie, enter the public domain. Billie Holiday's later songs enter the public domain. Diamonds Are Forever by Ian Fleming. You could now turn it into a short film or do whatever. It would enter the public realm because the guy who wrote it's long dead, his kids are long dead, or they've gotten more than enough benefit. The Constitution, our founding fathers and mothers decided there should be a public domain. Disney is pushing it back, 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 back. So you look at National Public Domain Day, and you find it, maybe it's International Public Domain Day, like I said. How much?
45 seconds.
45 seconds. And you find the things that would now, from 1956, be entering the public domain and be able to be used. You could turn them into audiobooks for blind people. You could do whatever you wanted with public domain stuff. And that is under attack. The very idea that anything in the artistic or creative realm would eventually pass into the public domain is under attack by corporations like Disney and other content corporations. They don't like the idea of people having a public domain. Fairy tales are in the public domain.
10 seconds.
Keep an eye on that. So go to my Twitter page. We'll talk more about that. I'll send some links around. Take care of each other. We'll see you next week.